Being a Red Sox fan right now feels like one of those moments where you can feel something big building, but you're not totally sure yet if it's going to push this team forward or create a whole new set of questions. Because over the last few days, two completely different situations around this roster started heating up, and somehow they both connect to the same thing we've been talking about all offseason, how this team is shaping up for the season ahead. On one side, there's a move the front office has been quietly trying to pull off to fix one of the biggest holes on the roster, something that, if it actually happens, could completely change how this lineup looks on opening day. But then on the other side, there's another situation developing inside this roster that might force the Red Sox to move a player making serious money, even though the season hasn't even started yet. And the latest update that just came out about one of these situations, honestly, it's the kind of news that makes you stop and go, wait, what is this team actually planning here? Because depending on how this plays out, it could affect the infield, the outfield, and even the pitching staff all at once. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack today. But before we dive into all of it, if you're a real Red Sox fan who follows this team every single day like I do, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. This channel is brand new. The goal right now is to reach our first 2,000 subscribers, and the idea here is simple real Red Sox fans talking about this team the way we actually feel about it. So let's get into the first situation, and honestly, this one is starting to feel a little frustrating if you're a Red Sox fan watching how the roster is coming together. All off-season long, one of the biggest questions around this team has been simple. Who is actually going to play third base? That question started the moment Alex Bregman left in free agency back in January. When he walked out the door, Boston immediately had a hole at third, and ever since then, the front office has clearly been trying to find the right solution. For a minute there, it looked like they might have found one. Just a few days before spring training opened, the Red Sox pulled off a trade with the Milwaukee Brewers to bring in Caleb Durbin, who finished third in the voting for the 2025 National League Rookie of the Year award. At the time, a lot of people thought that move might settle the position. But as spring training has gone on, things started to get a little more complicated. Red Sox manager Alex Cora has been dropping some pretty strong hints that Durbin might actually start the season at second base, not third, and that changes everything. Because if Durbin moves to second, suddenly the third base question is right back where it started. At the same time, one of the organization's top prospects, Marcelo Mayer, the fourth overall pick in the 2021 draft, has been showing solid progress this spring. But Cora made it clear that doesn't necessarily mean he's breaking camp with the major league team. Cora even said, "I think he's doing a good job. That doesn't mean that he'll break camp with us, but we've been happy with the progression." Which basically tells you the plan might still be to send Mayer down to AAA Worcester to keep developing. So if Durbin is playing second and Mayer starts the year in AAA, that leaves Boston still searching for a real answer at third base. And that's exactly why the Red Sox have been heavily connected in trade talks with the Houston Astros for two-time All-Star third baseman Isaac Paredes. On paper, Paredes actually makes a ton of sense. He just signed a one-year deal worth $9.4 million with Houston to avoid arbitration, and the Astros currently have an overcrowded infield, meaning they may need to move someone. And according to longtime MLB insider Ken Rosenthal from The Athletic, the Red Sox are still considered the best fit for Paredes. The idea would be simple. Paredes plays third base. Caleb Durbin moves to second. And Boston doesn't have to rush Marcelo Mayer to the big leagues. It's a clean solution. But here's where the brutal update comes in. Longtime Red Sox reporter Rob Bradford went on the Boston radio station WEEI and gave an update on the trade talks, and it was about as discouraging as it gets. Bradford said, "From what I understand, there is no momentum on Isaac Paredes. Zero." Yeah, not exactly the update fans were hoping for. And when you look deeper into the situation, there might be a very specific reason why things have stalled. Because according to Ken Rosenthal, if a deal were to happen, the Astros would likely want Jarren Duran as a centerpiece in the trade. And that's where things get complicated. Now look, from a roster standpoint, you could understand the logic. Boston's outfield is extremely crowded. You've got Wilyer Abreu, a two-time Gold Glove winner, in right field. You've got Ceddanne Rafaela, who won a Gold Glove in 2025 in center field. And you've got Roman Anthony, who many people believe could become the future face of the franchise, projected to play left field. So if you're just looking at positions, Jarren Duran kind of becomes the odd man out. But here's the problem. Duran hasn't just been good, he's been really good. Over the last 2 seasons combined, he's put up some insane numbers. 37 home runs, an MLB leading 27 triples, 89 doubles, and 58 stolen bases. And that's not even mentioning the fact that he was the 2024 All-Star Game MVP. Then this spring he came out absolutely on fire before leaving to join Team Mexico for the World Baseball Classic. In spring training, Duran posted an absurd 2.167 OPS with 3 home runs. 2.167. That's video game level production. So yeah, when you hear that the Red Sox might have to trade him to get Isaac Paredes, you can understand why the front office might be hesitating. And honestly, that might be the real reason Bradford said there's zero momentum in the talks right now. Because Boston clearly likes Paredes, but they might not be willing to give up Jarren Duran to make it happen. And that leaves the Red Sox stuck in this weird middle ground. They still need a third baseman. They still look like the best fit for Isaac Paredes, but the price might be too high. And that's exactly where things stand right now. But here's where this gets even more interesting. Because while Boston is trying to figure out whether they should trade from their outfield depth to solve the infield, another situation is developing where the team might actually move a completely different player this time because they suddenly have too much pitching. And the name that's now being connected to a possible trade might surprise a lot of Red Sox fans. If that move actually happens, it could quietly reshape the pitching staff before opening day. So while the Red Sox are dealing with that whole situation at third base, there's another conversation starting to build around this roster, and this one is happening on the pitching side. And the crazy part is, it's the exact opposite problem. Instead of not having enough options, Boston suddenly might have too many starting pitchers. Which is honestly a pretty wild thing to say when you think about where this team was just a couple of seasons ago. This offseason, the Red Sox made it very clear that starting pitching was a priority. And they didn't just say it, they actually went out and did something about it. Boston added Sonny Gray. They brought in Johan Oviedo. They signed Ranger Suarez. And when you combine those additions with the arms already in the organization, the rotation suddenly looks pretty deep. Right now, the front of the rotation could feature Garrett Crochet and Ranger Suarez, which many analysts believe could form one of the strongest 1-2 punches in Major League Baseball. Behind them, you've got Sonny Gray, who brings experience and stability. Then there's Brayan Bello, who continues to develop and is expected to be part of the core of this rotation. And after that, things start getting crowded, because the Red Sox also have Johan Oviedo competing for the final spot. Then you've got Cutter Crawford and Patrick Sandoval, both of whom missed the entire 2024 season because of injuries, but are now healthy again. And on top of that, the organization still has pitching prospects developing in AAA Worcester, including Peyton Toll and Connolly Early. So when you step back and look at the whole picture, the Red Sox suddenly have more starting pitchers than rotation spots. And according to Sports Illustrated analyst Noah Kamras, that could lead Boston to make a trade. Kamras actually predicted that the Red Sox could move Patrick Sandoval to the San Diego Padres. The reasoning behind it is pretty straightforward. The Padres are looking for stability in their rotation, and Boston has an extra starter who could help them immediately. Sandoval is currently in the second year of his 2-year deal worth $18.25 million, and he's owed $12.75 million this season. He's also entering a contract year, which means the Padres could bring him in, plug him into their rotation as a 4th or 5th starter, and then evaluate whether they want to keep him long-term. Kamras believes Sandoval could fit perfectly as San Diego's number 5 starter, especially because he would add something their rotation currently lacks, a left-handed starter. And from Boston's perspective, the move actually makes sense. Because Red Sox insider Jen McCaffrey reported that the team does not plan to use a 6-man rotation. Manager Alex Cora wants to run a 5-man rotation, which means someone is going to be left out. And right now, it looks like Johan Oviedo may actually have the edge for that final spot. McCaffrey even said that the 5th spot in the rotation appears to be Oviedo's to lose. So if Oviedo takes that job, that leaves Sandoval without a clear role in the rotation. Instead of pushing him into the bullpen, Boston could decide to flip him for future assets. According to Kamras, the Padres could send back something like left-handed reliever Yuki Matsui, or possibly a couple of prospects. And if that happens, the Red Sox would basically be turning that $18.25 million investment into pieces that help the team down the road. Now, Sandoval himself is still just 29 years old, and when healthy, he can be a solid 4th or 5th starter. The last time he pitched was in 2024 with the Los Angeles Angels, where he went 2-8 with a 5.08 ERA in 16 starts. So he's not exactly an ace, but he's the type of pitcher that can absolutely stabilize the back end of a rotation, which is exactly why a team like San Diego could be interested. And if Boston really does feel confident in the depth they built this offseason, moving Sandoval could be one of those quiet roster decisions that makes sense behind the scenes. But when you look at the bigger picture here, something interesting is happening. The Red Sox might be hesitating to make a trade on the position player side because they don't want to give up someone like Jarren Duran. Yet at the same time, they might be preparing to move a starting pitcher because they simply have too many arms. And that contrast says a lot about how this roster is being built right now. Which brings us to the big question Red Sox fans should be asking. What do these two situations together actually say about the direction of this team heading into the season? Let's wrap this up. When you connect these two stories together, you start to see the bigger picture of where the Red Sox are right now. This roster is clearly deeper than it's been in years. In the outfield, Boston has so much talent that trading someone like Jarren Duran is even part of the conversation even after the numbers he's put up over the last 2 seasons. On the pitching side, the team suddenly has enough depth that someone like Patrick Sandoval, who's making over $12 million this season, might not even have a clear role in the rotation. That's not a problem Red Sox fans have been able to say very often over the last few years. But depth also creates tough decisions. Do you trade from the outfield to finally solve the third base problem? Or do you hold on to a player like Duran and trust the internal options to figure things out? Do you move a pitcher like Sandoval for future assets? Or keep him around as insurance in case injuries hit the rotation again? These are the kinds of decisions that could quietly shape the entire season before opening day even arrives. And with Boston kicking off the 2026 season on March 26th against the Cincinnati Reds, the clock is definitely ticking for the front office to decide what direction they want to take. But now I want to hear from you. Would you trade Jarren Duran if that's what it takes to land Isaac Paredes and finally lock down third base? And what about the pitching situation should the Red Sox move Patrick Sandoval or keep that depth just in case? Drop your thoughts down in the comments because I love hearing how other Red Sox fans see this team right now. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video. Also, subscribe to the channel Red Sox Today. The channel is brand new and we're pushing toward our first 2,000 subscribers. So if you're a Red Sox fan who enjoys real conversations and honest opinions about the team, this is the place for you. Thanks for watching and let's see what this team does next.